to the Trap Life Show. I'm your host, Nate Allball, and today we're talking single wing. Now, speaking from my life experience, I know that I looked at the single wing for the longest time as completely antiquated. Now, listen, this is coming from a guy who I was a wing T guy, looking at the single wing as antiquated. Don't ask me how I could get to be so naive, but I was. And I'm sure I'm still that naive in many areas of football knowledge, of obviously of life. But I remember thinking about the single wing as it just sounded so antiquated. And what I found is, because I can also remember the point in my life when I considered the wing T antiquated. I remember that. So what I'm learning is that anything I don't know very well seems kind of dumb to me, right? So every part of football that I don't have a very good understanding of seems like a silly way to play football. What do you know? So how do you make it so that you have a better understanding of more parts of football? Well, you got to look at more parts of football. And whether you consider yourself a top-notch coach that has all the latest, cutting edge, all the latest and greatest ideas, you can be learning from other systems, and you should be. If you want to be really, really good and really cutting edge, learn from everything. Well, that brought me into this last couple of weeks when I started kind of looking at single wing stuff, and I just started by looking at the library of Chief Pigskin going, hey, I don't know the single wing very well. Like I want to look at some of this. And it timed up perfectly. Well, actually, this is what got me looking, is that this week's guest was a single wing guy. And I thought, how do I not know this better? As a lifelong wing tier, how do I not know the single wing better? Now, listen, I knew most guys would get unbalanced and run a ton of power. I get that, right? I understand the basics of it. But when I started looking at the film that we had and that Coach Serrichio, which is our guest, what he had, I'm going, man, this is stinking tough. This is a great option. There's so many great ways to move the football. The ways I don't understand how to move the football are kind of your modern ones where you're going to really involve throwing the ball. I don't understand moving the ball in that way. And I don't understand it likely because I haven't spent much time studying it. But if you're going to coach at a team or at a school, at a youth program that has any level of limitations on the time with the kids or the number of kids, it just seems to me that you would choose one of these three-back systems. But hey, this is a three-back show, so of course I'm obviously biased. Well, this week's guest, Mike Serrichio, a young head coach out of Connecticut. What did he say? It says Ledyard, but he says like Ledger. That's what he says. He sounds like he's saying ledger, but it's spelled Ledyard. But before I go over and introduce you to Coach Serrichio, I just wanted to kind of stir up this quote that Coach Mark Sieving had last year when he was doing a single wing presentation down at the Alabama clinic for Alabama Football Chat. And, he said, like, the quarterback for so many programs has just become this handoff machine, right? They snap the ball, they hand it off, and they watch the play. And it just seems like he could be doing so much more. Well, in the single wing, he does. Like, they don't have a handoff machine. They're going to use that man, the extra man, instead of handing it off, just snap it to the guy you want to carry the ball and use the other guy to block, right? If that sounds antiquated, then the reality is, this is what I've learned about, I'm saying it to myself first, old me. If that sounds antiquated, then it's really the problem is with your vision, your understanding of what the game is. The name of the game is move the ball. So let's take as many resources as we can into consideration as we study ways to move the ball. All right, without further ado, let's go meet Coach Serrichio. All right, as promised, alongside my special guest, Mike Serrichio. You know, what I love, Coach, is that I get on these calls and I get called such an old man for what I do. that I love three back offenses, that we love to pound the rock. And I hop on these calls and I meet young coach after young coach after young coach that loves it too. Coach, how
Absolutely.
did you grow up a three backer?
Um, I wouldn't say I grew up a three backer. I played high school in an I formation, but the fullback and running back went to Boston College and Penn State respectively. So we could have ran
Anything.
whatever offense you wanted. It would have worked out for us. But then I went to college at Springfield and I played in the option there.
Okay,
And
see, there's
yeah, I
where you
was,
became a three backer right
oh
there.
yeah, I was a full option guy. Ran option at Ledyard, got to the playoffs with it, had a really good year in 2022 with it. Had an all-state kid. Everything was awesome. And then the following year, man, for whatever reason, still really haven't figured out why, but we could not hang on to the football, couldn't get the quarterback center exchange. And it was just like night and day from year to
Yeah.
year. And the amount of times we put the ball on the ground against a team we had no business losing to was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And then, that led me to the single wing um, to get out of the under center, but still be a three back offense.
Yes.
Um, and it's been good for us. I think we're 10-4 since we switched in the middle of 23.
Wow,
Um, yeah, we've had some success with it. And
dude.
I'm all in. I love it so much.
Well, we can't wait to see it. Coach, you're going to share your screen. We're going to just turn it over to you. Teach us up on some single wing or your version of it and your variations. And
Yeah,
I'll close us up here in about 20.
outstanding. All right, so this is our version of the single wing right here. You could see we're an unbalanced single wing team for sure. With the two tight end set, some teams have that split end on the strong side. Rick Darlington famously out of Apopka, but he's been in a bunch of different places. Is a big split end guy, but I learned directly under Tony Sagnella of North Haven High School in Connecticut, who won back-to-back state championships in 22 and 23, running this system. And he's kind of the guy I took the most influence from. And so this is our deal. And I like it a lot because, as all the defensive coordinators know, the more gaps that you present to a defensive front, the more stressful it is to align. And so when you have, a 4x2 surface, uh, that can create some serious headaches for defenses. And so this is our left formation, and then you'll see plays from the right formation. And these last 2 years, that's all we've done. But it's been successful enough for us in these last 2 years that I think that we can have some ideas shared here that aspiring single wing guys can take, or maybe some single wing guys that are looking to get into the double tight unbalanced set. Um, so without further ado, this is our power play. This is kind of what the whole offense is based on. It's what we hang our hat on. It's what we want to be really good at first and foremost. It's our bread and butter, et cetera, et cetera. We were in an overtime game in the ninth game of the year this year, and I'm fairly certain I haven't self-scouted that game yet, but I'm pretty sure we ran power every single play of overtime, including 2-point conversions, and we ended up winning the game. Um, so it's a really good play for us. 4 yards in a cloud of dust is the goal, but as you can see on the screen, it does end up as an explosive at times. And so really what we're looking to do is outnumber the defense at the point of attack. That's kind of the whole name of the game with the single wing, as far as I'm concerned. It's one of the major reasons why I like it so much is because, even if we're at a personnel disadvantage, if we have more hats in the hole, our odds of succeeding on any given play kind of go up. So to the strong side, we have our strong side tight end. We have our outside tackle, our inside tackle, our strong guard, and our center. And then to the weak side, we have our quick guard and our tight end. Now that's just, I guess, commonplace terminology for single wing, but we just call them by number. So the weak side tight end is 2. and then the guard is 3, center is 4, next guard is 5, 6, 7, and then 8 is the that strong side tight end. And so it gives us the ability to, when we install plays such as 48, the 4 back is the tailback, and it's going in the 8 hole, which is run right behind the 8, which is the strong side tight end for us. So it makes it really easy for our linemen. Like no matter what the play number is, it could be 48, it could be 448, it could be 5,600,000,048. As long as the last number is 8, they're blocking the same scheme. And so that gives us a lot of flexibility with the backfield to do different things and what have you. Uh, Pretty much, man, this play is predicated on a double team at the point of attack and then getting as many pullers through that hole as we can. And so we're looking to get a double team from the strong side tight end and that outside tackle there, and then that blocking back, who's number 44, who lines up in the gap of the inside tackle, and the outside tackle is going to trap the first guy outside the double team, and then the wing back is going to pop out to the widest defender. Fullback will be up and through the hole for the most dangerous. That 5, or the strong guard that's right next to the center on the strong side, he will pull around into the hole if he can. If there's any threat of run through or there's a double A gap look by the defensive line, he will just block down. And then that quick guard will also pull through for the or through the hole. And really, there's no situation where he does not pull because that center is going to block back, and we're going to be sound on that end. And so here, I know it's going to be a little bit grainy. I think based on what Coach was telling me in the preview, okay. But we get a good double team right there from the tight end and the tackle. We're looking for horizontal displacement, not necessarily vertical displacement. With our single wing system, we're trying to get the holes open as wide as possible to give those pullers as much room to operate as possible, and then let our backs just kind of do what they do, read the blocks, find the holes, and go. This is actually our backup tailback this year. This is the one game that our starting tailback did not play, but you'll see him in a few later clips. But you can see here, again, that good double team getting that displacement from number 66, getting him out of the way. Blocking back comes through on the trap. And the thing what we tell the blocking backs or anybody else in our system who's going to trap block is that it doesn't have to be a devastating, crushing highlight block. It certainly can be, and it's really fun when that does happen. But as long as your hat is inside their hat and you can turn them out and they don't cross your face, that's really all we're looking for. And you can see right here, not necessarily a devastating block by 44, but he is inside, he has leverage, and he gets that kid out of the way, which allows the guards to go through as well as the fullback. Okay, now that the strong guard is a little bit slow getting through there, we really shouldn't have the fullback's hand on the back like that. He's got to get on his horse a little bit, but it's blocked well enough that everybody gets through. We get a hat and a hat, and we're off to the races. Okay, again, nothing really super pretty. We're not super technically sound here. Our hands might not be in the best spot. Our pad level isn't super great. But we got hats on hats. We got the guys blocked that we're supposed to get blocked. And the tailback in our offense, who we consider our best runner, our best athlete, kind of does the rest. And so he's on a great gain here, getting extra yardage.
Where's that tailback lined up, Coach? Is he behind the guard, or is he in the quarterback kind of splitting the feet of the center?
So yeah, so the tailback is on the center's weak side leg, and the fullback is on the center's strong side leg. And that fullback is going to be like a half a yard in front of the tailback just so he can get to the point of attack a little bit quicker.
Okay.
And so it's the tailback gets a clearer picture. This was against our big rival on Thanksgiving in the rain here. This is coming off a shift.
How much single wing do you see up in your area?
None, and that's what drew me to it. Like I said before, Coach Sagnella at North Haven is in a totally separate conference and playoff class from us. And then, to my knowledge, the only other team in Connecticut that's doing it is Torrington, who is also in a separate division and playoff class. So having the novelty really is paramount for me. being the only system on everybody's schedule and having to have a unique game plan for us is kind of what draws me uh, to this system.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry to
Now,
interrupt. Go ahead.
all good. So this next one is coming off a shift, and so what we'll do is we'll line up in our left formation, okay? Get the defense to line up. We'll shift, totally flip-flop the formation, and then as you can see here, they're kind of confused. Guys are misaligned. No one knows what to do. Kind of creates chaos for us for very low cost. So we don't do a lot of motioning, but the shifting is kind of where we get the defense to not be able to kind of just sit back, pin their ears back, and make their reads. And so you can see by how the defense is aligned, if we're going to run this thing behind the strong side tight end, this is a really good look right here, and it's because we shifted into it. So on this particular play right here, okay, again, this is our starting tailback now. He was the bell cow for us these last 2 years. Very, very talented player. Over 3,000 yards and I think 38 touchdowns over his junior and senior year. And so, again, you'll see here, pretty good double team, even though that kid kind of got lined up late. So those guys did a good job of communicating after the shift. You could see the horizontal displacement from that double team. The strong side guard gets around the double team, gets a piece of the linebacker. The wingback does a really good job on his pop-out block to the widest guy. He gets him just enough so that the tailback can kind of squeak through there and get away. And again, you see those back blocks are sound. There's not a lot of run through. We're getting pushed at the point of attack. And then again, when you have all these hats at the point of attack and you can get your best athlete with that much grass in front of them, good things are going to happen. Okay. This next clip here. So this is kind of, unfortunately, a popular situation with us. We have not developed the passing game as much as we should have. Unfortunately. Credit that to me being a new single wing coach, trying to invest too much into the run game, even though, again, that's what, we're going to hang our hat on. But we see more 10-man boxes than I think anybody on our schedule. And so is it problematic? Kind of. But again, one of the benefits of this play is you have 10 blockers. Okay, so if you want to put 10 in the box, understandably so, but we have 10 people to block. So if we can get some one-on-one matchups won here, we're going to be in a good way, regardless. And again, no one wants to run into a 10-man box, not even I do. And so the passing game is kind of on the priority list going into the next season. But anyway, you can see here, it's not really a conventional front. It's kind of like a 5-5 here. But the good thing about this system too is it's all rules based. So we don't have ways to block certain fronts. We have rules for the players. Okay, you do this on this play. If you can't do this, then you do this. And that covers 99.99% of the situations and allows our kids to play fast. So again, okay, blocking back here, does a good job on the trap. Again, not devastating, not bone crunching, but he's inside. His hat is inside. He gets that kid turned out, and we're good to go. Okay? Now, we don't get a double team here because there's no one that's really lined up in that gap between the outside tackle and the strong tight end. And so when that happens, everyone just blocks down. So that's one of those situations, right? If your rule dictates that you got a double team, but you can't, then you block down. Okay? So really easy, really simple. Get a hat on a hat, sustain some blocks. The only, gripe I have on this play is the fullback kind of runs by this backside chase guy here who's kind of tied up with our tight end who's fighting his butt off to get him blocked. But if this fullback here can just get his hat on that kid, we might be off to the races. But, we'll take 34 yards on a power play any day of the week. So that's kind of our power play at a glance. I don't want to take too much time on it because I do want to get to the counter play, which I think is unique to us. In that I really haven't seen a whole lot of single wing teams run it. But it's my favorite play because it gives us the most hats at the point of attack of any play that we have. And so the fullback is the only one that's going to go to the strong side. and then we're going to have 4 pullers with a trapper and then 3 wrappers we call. We have trappers and wrappers. Okay, so the trap guy obviously kicks out. The wrappers wrap through the hole for the most dangerous threat inside. So what you'll see here is, again, it's a weak side counterplay with the tailback. Very simple rules for those weak side guys. They're just going to gap down backer that thing. Doesn't get a whole lot easier than that. Then you'll see our outside tackle here, number 52. He's going to pull through. The blocking back's going to pull through. And the wing back is going to pull through. Now, with that much happening, not every single time all those guys are going to get a hat and a hat. Okay, when it does, it's usually an explosive play. But it is pretty chaotic at the point of attack. But more often than not, our numbers advantage because, if you don't align hat on a hat to the strong side, we're going to run power all day. And so this counterplay last year was our best play. And a lot of teams that we played this year overcompensated on the weak side because they knew we were going to run this play. And that just opens up power, right? So if you align overshift to the strong side, we're going to run this counterplay all day. If you overshift to the weak side, we're going to run power all day. So they work hand in hand. They kind of open the other one up for each other. And it's a good little deal. Okay, so you see here, we don't typically need a double team at the point of attack, but because of the way the defense lined up, we get that double team between that tight end and that guard. Great job of the tight end getting on the hip. That's kind of textbook right there, how we teach it on chewing the hip. Okay, you see that that strong guard, again, not a great trap, but good enough. Okay, this is really pretty sloppy. It's the first game of the year, so I'll give him a pass. But it's just enough to open the hole. For 52, the outside tackle, he gets a hat and a hat on 23, which was their best player, which was key. Blocking back gets a piece of that other linebacker, and the wing back's kind of just escorting him through. And then again, when your best athlete is in space, good things happen. And
Coach, I just want to let the guys know too, because there's tons of pulling going on. It's kind of hard to see because of Zoom and everything.
Yes.
So I just want to let them know that we're going to download these clips and put them at the end of this video so you can watch them smoothly, coaches. If you guys want to see it, you'll see them at the end.
Yeah, and also, I haven't invented anything in football. Nothing's new under the football sun, so they say. So if anybody is interested in learning more about our version of single wing, I'm a football junkie. I'll talk football all day long, all year long. I'm always available. Twitter, email, phone call, whatever. I will send you whatever you want. We'll talk however much you want, and we could always do that. So this one, either this one or the next one. No, not this one necessarily. But again, another big play here off the counter play. Okay. So you can see whenever they have a wide defensive end on the weak side, for us, that screams counter, because the wider the trap guy is, the easier he is to trap, the easier it is to run the play. Okay, so we knew this kid really wasn't going to squeeze. He kind of just runs up the field. He gets trapped. You can kind of see the massive humanity in the hole there. And again, we're off to the races. Okay, now it's really, really key for the pullers to be as tight as humanly possible to that weak side tight end, who's doing a tremendous job the linebacker. When you talk about gap down backer progressions in terms of backer blocking, this is about as good as it gets from our weak side tight end here. Okay. But we try to teach these kids to take all of the air out of the line of scrimmage. Like, there shouldn't be any air between you as a puller and the down blocks that you're pulling around. Because if there's air, that means guys can run through. That means there's space. Not good. Okay. So here, they do a good job staying tight. We kind of get the wing back doubling and tripling a little bit, but it works out. We get a clear lane. Unbelievable effort here from that strong side tight end, clipping off this safety, which is probably the difference between this being a touchdown and just a big play. So these are all explosive plays, and typically these last 2 seasons, our explosive run plays have really happened on this play. And I firmly believe it's just a matter of having more hats at the point of attack. Yes, we have a very athletic and gifted kid running the football, but as a defensive coordinator, it's very, very hard to line your guys up to be as sound as humanly possible against this counterplay and also be as sound as humanly possible against the power play to the strong side. And so we use this play to open up power, and we use power to open up this play, and whatever is kind of working that day works that day. And this day, the counter is working. The reason why I love this particular clip is because this is about as good as you're going to see a wing back block on this counter play. Okay. Now, his path is not super great. You can see that there's a ton of air between him and the down blocks. Okay. Realistically, if he can just stack himself right behind 52 and kind of cover 52's number, that's perfectly fine for me. But initially here, not great. But we get enough of a push on the strong side to make sure the hole is opened up. In the previous two clips, you've kind of seen the wing back kind of just hangs on for dear life with somebody who's already engaged, whether that's the blocking back or the outside tackle. But here he gets a clear shot on the free safety, who is oftentimes unblocked in our system, or we're counting on that backside tight end to kind of just cut him off on what we call a hero block. But here, he lights that kid up. He's right in his chops, and that's another untouched counterplay touchdown for us. Okay, great job here also by the blocking back, staying really tight, getting up to that linebacker. His headgear's under his headgear. Again, we got hats on hats here. Again, not pretty. This is early in the season. Technique's not amazing, but guys are getting blocked who they're supposed to be blocked. And again, get your best athlete the ball. And that's kind of one thing that we've done here in my time here. We haven't gone on a crazy state title run. We made the playoffs a couple times. We won some games. But when you play Ledyard, you know that our best kid is going to get the ball for sure. And that, some days that can be a curse for us when the, supporting cast isn't really heating up. In other days, it kind of saves us. I just think, personally, philosophically, I can't walk away from a game knowing that my best kid did not get the ball enough. And I think the single wing is a perfect way to do that. You want to get your best kid 20, 25 carries. Not a whole lot of ways to do it better than the single wing, in my opinion. So here's another kid that we had this year who would have been probably a 50-50 split with our starter. But unfortunately in this game, he sprained his ankle. It never really was the same. And then ultimately when he was finally healthy, he dislocated his elbow in that game. So an unfortunate end, but he was like the real home run hitter, this kid. And so typically, he was our sweep guy because he can get to the edge quicker than anybody we had. But he ran this play extremely well. He has great vision. He's patient. You're going to see him put his hand on the puller's backs. And then again, once he hit daylight, he was gone. But again, here. So just by alignment, okay, again, you can tell this is a great angle for that tight end to get a down block here. Great angle for the guard to get a down block here. This guy is not prepared to take on a trap, in my opinion, based on how he's aligned in his stance. And then their closest linebacker is outside the hash on the strong side. Now, to their coach's credit, he had their best defender follow the blocking back, which is a pretty good strategy, especially, at this point in the year, we hadn't put our key breakers in because, again, this is game 3, I think. But it's no different than the wing T. Like, yeah, wing T, follow the guards. Yeah, that's great. But you still got to get off the blocks. You still got to make the tackles. You still got to do the things you have to do to make the play. So, yes, if you follow the blocking back, that's probably a good idea most of the time. But you still got to make the play, right? And so in this clip, again, you'll see that patience and that burst from number 1. But there's a great down block by the tight end. We get a diver on that weak side guard. He does a good job kind of just shoving him away and kind of picking up that extra guy who was following the blocking back. Blocking back kind of gets hung up a little bit, but stays with it. able to get a piece of number 6. And again, speed wins always, regardless of the system you're running. Great job at 52 getting up to the linebacker. And we're off to the races. Okay. So that's our most successful counterplay. Depending on how much time we have left, Coach, we do have another counter that I have a cut up on. How are we doing for time?
Yeah. Let's show that last counter and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, great. So this is like the classic single wing counter. It's kind of an offense unto itself, because we have a naked play off of it, we have a boot pass off of it, and also a waggle pass off of it. And so it wasn't as deadly as I would have liked it to be this year by my own fault. But moving forward in years to come, this is going to be a series that we really rely on. So this is a wingback counter. And I like this because the other counterplay is really just a counterplay because we're pulling all the strong side guys to the weak side. That's like the only counter characteristic that it has. But this one, the tailback and fullback both go to the strong side, and everybody else goes to the weak side. And so again, if you're a high school kid, even if you're well coached and your coach says follow blocking back, if this tailback is kind of getting it rolling a little bit and we've run power a bunch and sweep a bunch, and you see the action that you're going to see, you're going to at least freeze or take a shuffle step over to that side, which is going to make it harder to make this play. Okay? So really the blocking scheme is not too much different from the tailback counter, except that we're not going to pull the wingback now. We're just going to give him the ball instead. Okay? And so you can kind of see the linebackers in the secondary freeze just enough here, okay, to where there's a lot of grass out here. Okay, if we're going to freeze frame this right there, okay? There's a big old lane. Okay, we have a young lineman pulling through. This was his first year starting. He's only going to continue to get better. Okay, but if we get this cat blocked, we could be off to the races. Okay? There's a better example of it coming up here in terms of the influence on the defense right here, okay? So number 20, really good linebacker. I think he ended up being all-state, or not all-state, all-conference in our league. But you can see he is dive bombing toward the blocking back, to his credit, okay? But again, just because you make the right read does not necessarily mean you're going to make the play. Just like reading the wing T guards, okay? But a really good job by the blocking back on the trap block right here, even on a muddy read right here, because I don't believe that the communication was really good between the weak side tight end and that weak side guard. But nevertheless, the lane is there. He gets the trap, and it's a first down for us, okay? One more here. This is the example I was talking about here. So again, on Thanksgiving, our tailback had a really big day. We had been running power very successfully this day. Okay, and you can really see if you look at, what's his number, 13, I believe, right here. He's going the complete opposite way, okay? This other linebacker, to his credit, again, not necessarily fooled, but he's freezing, which to us is just as good, okay? And a really good job by our tackle there getting up to him. And if our wingback had, a couple of tenths of a second off his 40, maybe he splits these safeties, maybe he scores. Okay? But it's just a really easy way to get, in a fast flow offense, which is what we kind of are. Like, we don't really have a ton of misdirection. And so to kind of get those linebackers to freeze as opposed to fast flowing most of the time is super, super of an advantage for us. And then again, we have these passes off them, which we didn't throw often this year. But when we did, they were wide open. So this is the boot pass, where it's blocked the same exact way. Everything is the same, except that strong side tight end is going to run a post route instead of doing his hero block deal that he normally does. And you can see there's no one in his zip code right there. Because again, between the tailback going this way, the wingback going the other way, the tight end just gets lost in the shuffle. It's kind of hard to account for him unless you're super disciplined or unless we're throwing when we have to instead of when we want to, which is unfortunately something that we fell prey to too often last year. But again, the defense is going every which way. Fullback does a really good job here getting that seal block to make sure that the tailback has a lane to throw in, and that's an easy pitch and catch. And then the naked play, again, this team really got after us this year. This was like probably the one of the better plays we had. So again, everything's the same. Tailback just keeps it and runs. So if you get this thing going, you hit a chunk play, and then your guys in the booth notice like, hey man, these guys on the strong side are chasing hard. No one is respecting it out there. You're gonna have some grass, okay? And again, this is our guy who got hurt. If he was healthy, maybe he pops this thing. Maybe if our fullback gets a little bit better of a block on here, he pops this thing. But you can see how much influence that the fake has on the defense and the amount of grass that you have out there to make a play. And then finally, not to take up too much time, we have the waggle pass here, which is really good for us because our wingback was a lefty. And so being able to run a bootleg action to the left is extremely valuable because you don't really see it too often. So we're going to exchange it like we would on the counter play. And then he's just going to pitch and catch it to, again, that tight end that's running a drag route. Unfortunately, our weak side tight end is supposed to run a speed out. He kind of bends that thing a little too vertical. It's his first year playing football, so we're going to forgive him. But again, you can see both guys are wide open. We have good protection here. Okay, the only difference on this one is instead of the blocking back trapping, he's going to log instead. His guy kind of gets lost in the shuffle there, and the pulling tackle is doing the wrong thing. But even still, okay, the wing back gets depth very smartly, doing what he's coached to do. So he runs away from the pressure, allows the routes to develop, and then you have an easy pitch and catch with your tight ends. And so that's the more traditional single wing counter series that we have. And all those plays, those three plays, the power play, the tailback counter and the wingback counter probably accounted for at least 75% of our offense last year, which rushed for over 3,000 yards. So not anything crazy, not our personal best, but I'll take 300 yards a game. So it's been good for us. Like I said, if Coach wants to share my info, I would love to talk to anybody who's willing to talk about this. Again, I can talk about it all day, and I appreciate Coach's time.
Yeah, go ahead and stop the share, Coach.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And change our view here to our gallery view. There we go. Thank you so much for sharing, man. So how can people find you on X?
So I'm at Coach Serrichio. It's kind of a tough name, but I think my name is going to be in this.
Yeah, it's written in there.
Yeah. So at Coach Serrichio on X.
2 R's, 2 C's.
2 R's, 2 C's. And then my email is mserrichio@ledyard.net. Ledyard is spelled Ledyard .net. And again, anytime anybody wants to discuss, I'm all ears. Because again, the guys that taught me did it in the most gracious way possible, most generous way possible. And so I would really like to return the favor if I could.
Yeah. So you went and got your version from who?
Tony Sagnella, who is a Connecticut legend in North Haven. Okay. He's been doing it. He's been running a single wing for like 20 something years. Been to 3 state titles, 1, 2, back to back. Plays in the best league in Connecticut, constantly plays like the best schedule around, and is always, always, always competitive. I coached a lot of his kids at Springfield College, and just like the toughest, best character, coach's dream kid you'll ever meet. And so when we got into that predicament running Flexbone, that was kind of the first thing that came to mind because, again, the novelty of the single wing, I knew no one was running it around here. Yeah. And then again, speaking of those kids, I was always like intrigued by it because I really didn't know anything about it. And I was like, what is single wing? You played blocking back. Like, what the hell is a blocking back?
Yeah.
And then again, I randomly emailed him in the middle of a season on a Saturday. Hey, Coach, I'm Mike Serrichio from Ledyard, blah, blah, blah. If you can help, that's great. If not, no worries. And like he responded, he's like, yeah, give me a call. He talked to me in the middle of his season for like an hour and a half about the single wing. And I've gone down to clinic with him multiple times. Just the best freaking guy. I mean, just the best guy ever. So like I said, I would like to pay that back to anyone who's looking to into this.
So, kind of just a question that came up in my mind. So, you don't see a lot of single wing anymore. I ran into two really good single wing guys last off season down in Alabama. One was from Elba. Well, they were both at Elba at the time in
The Elba
Alabama.
guys sent me film. They're great.
Okay, yeah. Love talking to those guys. That's Mark Seaving and Al Gilmore. And then Al got the head job at Geneva County, went down and mic'd him up. Outside of them, now in Illinois and in my area in the last handful of years, I won't give too many details. I don't want anybody to call up, but I've seen, I don't want to call anybody out, but I've seen two programs do what looks like they really want to be single wing.
Hmm.
However, neither program has had much success in it.
Hmm.
I have my own ideas why I think it's not working for them.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know from you, being a single wing guy who's made it work, what would be your guess as the teams that are trying it, but it's not working for them?
Do you know, are they like all in it, or are they just like trying to use concepts and like they're just
Well, that's kind of like a quiz for you saying, what are some things that would make you think why possibilities why it's not working for programs?
well, the biggest thing that comes to my mind is buy-in, honestly. Um, we came here and started running the flex bone, so it wasn't a secret that we're going to run the football. And so when we changed, the kids were like fired up about it because like we're in the shotgun now. It's like new, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very blessed. Like I would rather coach nowhere else in the world. The kids are unbelievable. Regardless of the circumstances, these 4 years I've been here, good or bad, they show up, they work their tails off, they play hard, they're unbelievable. But if you don't have that kind of kid, and you have a kid that wants to catch 50 balls for 1,000 yards and 12 touchdowns, and all of a sudden that's not a possibility, his parents aren't excited about it, and like he's talking to more parent, and like it's just a big cluster of non-belief. I think that would be my biggest thing, because it's not like you don't need anything like most three back offenses. You don't really need anything to be able to run it. You can walk the halls and put together a single wing lineup. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Linemen don't have to be huge. Backs don't have to be blazing fast. Don't need a quarterback, obviously. And so, you know, um, that could be an issue. Or, just not really understand. Like even me, our system is very flawed. Like we got exposed by a couple teams this year who took away what we were good at, didn't let number two win the game, forced us to try to throw or do or run concepts we weren't comfortable with, and we got beat. So I think an incomplete knowledge of it could be something too, where they're missing, maybe they don't have a counter that works, or maybe they don't have a misdirection that works, and like I said, maybe those linebackers are just pinning their ears back and just following flow and making stuff difficult for the offense. It's not a magic bullet like anything else. So there could be a list of reasons why, but
Yeah.
we love it. We think it's great.
Well, I mean, very well said. Like I said, I think people have asked me a question that I get from time to time is, hey, coach, what stops the wing T? And I always just say good defenses. Like there's not like a special way you could align that makes it harder. It's like the teams that stop us are really good at defense. It's like they do
Yeah.
what they do and they do it well.
Mhm.
Right? It hasn't been like a magic thing. Like we've been stopped by teams that are in odd fronts. We've been stopped by teams in even fronts. We've been stopped by teams in all sorts of fronts. But the common theme has been that they're good defensive teams.
Yeah.
And so I look at the same thing on offense and I say, a good single wing team versus a bad one, a good wing T team versus a bad wing T, a good spread team versus a bad spread, whatever the system that you're going to see people running it well and not well.
Yeah.
And the well is, well, it's all the details of football, right? It's
Exactly.
getting off the ball, it's communication, it's making very few mistakes, all those sorts of things. So
Mhm.
tell me, outside of throwing the ball, What's an area of growth that you feel like you need to make as a coach offensively or be able to do as a program offensively?
Yeah, it's definitely in this order. Misdirection and deception would be number one, and then more formations would be number two. So in terms of misdirection and deception, again, what I love about the wing tee, I'm a wing tee admirer. I think before I retire, I'll end up running it at some point. Our sweep and the Buck sweep, blocking scheme wise, really is not different. It's the same scheme. But the wing tee quarterback faking the trap and holding the linebackers there makes all the difference in the world. Like for us, we catch it and we go. So it's fast flow, bang, we're out. Right. But again, like you said, if we can block you, doesn't matter. Right. But the teams that we lost to all had really good linebacker play. I'm talking like studs.
Mm-hmm.
I know one of them was All-State, top 26. The other two should have been. If they weren't, that's a crime. Really good linebacker play. So if you can't get those kids to think, it's going to be tough. And I think, like you said, personnel is always the answer, right? But in my experience, I would much rather play against a stud D lineman than a stud linebacker in the system. We played some really good D linemen this year, like guys that I thought were going to wreck the game that didn't. And the reasons why, could be multiple. But I do know that those friggin' linebackers gave us hell, man. And so running some more things that get the eyes of the linebacker moving, false keys, key breakers, misdirection to set, just that has to be more prevalent for us next year. And then again, formation wise, when we are game planning for the wing tee team and the flexbone team on our schedule, it is the most sleepless weeks of my year. And each year it doesn't get easier. Right? You would think oh yeah, we got to figure it out now. No, every year it's a pain. And so for me thinking about it, I'm like, so if I know that it's a pain in the ass to get my kids to align to 3-back teams, why am I bailing these teams out by giving them one formation to align to? So that these great linebackers can pin their ears back and just hum it and go.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all they're working all week in practice. The classic axiom of 3-back teams. Oh, you can't replicate this in 3 days, blah, blah, blah. Well, with Ledyard, it's not as hard because we're just giving you this single wing look that you got to rep. And you got to rep the shift, but that was really it. So for us, figuring out what formations can we run while still keeping the run schemes and rules the same, so the linemen don't have to really think any more than they already do because they have enough. But the skill guys can definitely handle more of a mental workload. So I think those two things I know those two things are at the top of our list moving forward.
I like it. Now you said you hadn't used any spinner stuff yet, right?
No, we actually did the half spin last year.
Okay.
And it was awesome. So we would half spin and sweep the wing back to the weak side. That was a great play for us. We had more than a handful of explosives on that play. And then we would run the trap where the fullback would half spin, fake it, and then run up the chute on the trap play. And that worked really well for us too. And so again, for me, I'm like, if we're half spinning, let's just friggin' full spin, And through my research, a lot of guys do that as their base. Hey, we run spin series as the base and then power series is our changeup. For me, I just think with a small school with 2 platoon kids, the power series is it.
Mm-hmm.
Catch, run, block, go. That's who we are. That's what we're going to be good at. We're going to outnumber you at the point of attack, and we're going to do our damnedest to friggin' block you. But again, when that doesn't work, you need something else. And I listened to Coach Darlington speak a lot. Rick Darlington's a single wing guy, big guru, probably the biggest or most famous, I think, in America right now. And he said on the coaching coordinator podcast, he was like, the teams that are all run and all pass are typically not the ones that are winning championships. And that really was like a punch to the gut. And I'm like, damn, that's kind of us right now, when you play those good teams, man, and you need, to beat these teams of equal or better talent, you got to throw it at least a little bit, and again, you got to have different things run game wise than your bread and butter if a team is good enough and well coached enough to take that bread and butter away. And so, it's been very enlightening. Like, again, I'm not an expert by any means on this. Like, this is my first legitimate full season running the proper system, because last year we just threw it together. It was super, super basic, like as basic as it possibly could be. We caught some teams off guard. We were able to highlight the ability of our best tailback, who really was kind of like in obscurity in the flex bone. Like, he wasn't necessarily a halfback or a fullback, he was kind of like whatever. And it worked, and it was good. And so this year we did the whole thing, the real blocking schemes, like real rules, every hole, all that. So I've had 1 year coaching legitimate single football. So I have a ton to learn. And I was taught that the hard way, 3 times or 4 times this year. But again, I will always believe that being unconventional and being different and giving a team a unique look, whether it's air raid, whether it's, slot tee, gun tee, whatever. If it's different, I think it's good.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be different or you got to be better. That's the famous quote. Now, if you could be both, I think that's when championships are won. So that's what we're working toward.
Man, very well said, Coach. I love the way you're thinking through everything. I love kind of listening to your journey through it all. You have officially earned your trap head badge.
Let's go.
I better make some badges. Man, thank you so much for joining us. Those guys, some of the video will be there here at the end of this video, so you can watch it through seamlessly. Be sure to follow Coach Serrichio. Thanks for following us on Trap Life. And actually got to tell everybody, I've got to move the clinic. I was planning our 3rd annual Trap Life clinic for February 21st, 22nd. And we had a family wedding. My niece, by way of unseen circumstances, has had to move her wedding date right to that spot.
That's very stressful for her.
For her. So yes. Yeah. So
and now you.
Yeah, I know. So it's unfortunate for me, but she still trumps the clinic. I will move the clinic. I got to be at that wedding for my niece, and we're going to keep all you guys posted on the Trap Life Clinic, and we'll see if we can keep just growing this community, man. All right, Coach, any closing thoughts before we let you go?
No, like I said, man, please, 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 anybody that wants to talk single wing, please reach out. If you're like a single wing guru who's been running it for a million years and you think my stuff looks like crap, also let me know, please. I'm all ears. Like I said, I'm still going to talk football whenever possible. So hit me up. And thanks for having me on, Coach. It was blessed.